They say we should have known better than to fall so deep down into this rabbit hole we found. And I was thinking.
Hi, this is Nikolai, and you're listening to My Dad Rafal, co-host James Jardine, and featuring Mr. Jim Tiller on the one and only Down the Security Rabbit Hole podcast. Plug in, listen up, and enjoy.
Deep into this pool of regrettable situations. Pitch black, think back to the last time that we were happy.
All right. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome down the Security Rabbit Hole to yet another edition of the Down the Security Rabbit Hole podcast. This is Raph. I have with me James.
Howdy today, sir.
Howdy. It is it's hot outside, man. We've gone from cold here to hot. Like we've completely missed spring. I missed that. Our topic today, if you can't tell by the slightly cryptic title, stems from a conversation that our guest Ross here had opened up on Twitter. I'm sorry, LinkedIn, not Twitter. There's still Twitter? No, there isn't. Opened up on LinkedIn about the strange, often strained relationship between the modern seller, aka vendor, and the security leader, aka buyer. I thought, this would be a fun conversation to have on an open mic because what could possibly go wrong? So let's dive into it. Ross, go ahead and introduce yourself real quick, sir.
Sure. I'm Ross Hausman. I'm the CISO at Be Well Connected Health. I'm also an investor at SVCI and an advisor to a number of cybersecurity startups as well as VCs.
Okay, that's a good place to start. So let's have this. You want to explain your post a little bit? Because I think I won't do it the justice that you can.
Yeah, so the sales process in tech and cybersecurity is kind of broken today. We have a lot of sales leaders that believe that cold calls and spam and you got to have 4 touches, and the more that you can quote unquote touch somebody, the more likely they are to buy. And this drives some really bad behaviors for CISOs. And so, I get probably 15 to 20 different messages a day, direct. And I'm not talking about the marketing spam that we get or anything like that. I'm talking personalized, a text, a phone call, a LinkedIn message, a direct email. And so, I'm getting all of this. And I asked my fellow CISOs, I'm in a number of CISO Slacks, hey, how many are you guys getting, you folks? And, the results were pretty staggering. A lot of people are getting 20 plus, a lot of people in the 15 to 20. And, I don't think sales folks understand, like, we can't respond to all of these. There's a reason why we're not responding, or that we're short, or that we're curt. It's just, if I responded to sales things, I wouldn't get anything else done all day. Yeah, and so I threw that out there, and it started quite the conversation, right? Like most of the CISOs I saw were like, preach, right? Like, please tell everyone, like, please stop doing this. Some of the sales folks were like, yeah, this is really bad behavior of how we've been doing this. And then some were like, I pay your salary. You should just be happy that, we're calling you. And it's like, not really. So it was just a really interesting kind of wide view of perspectives.
So we had Yaron Levy on. God, it's been a while. Actually, I texted him. I was trying to see if I can get him back on this show to chat with us. But he was, he talked about something similar where the process is kind of broken, right? We've turned it into cold calling. There are so many vendors. There's such a pressure to, quite frankly, through VC and PE firms, thanks to them, largely, that, 40% growth, 90% growth, 200% growth at all costs. And so you've got salespeople, SDRs, sales development reps, right, that just cold call all day, email all day. And Yeah, I saw a bunch of replies to your initial post that basically said, if I can sum this up correctly, if you just have patience and you come and let me come to you, it'll be easier. To which I say, yeah, that's never how it's worked. Like I mean, that's a great thing in theory, and it sounds lovely. But you've probably not heard of the 7,000 startups that are trying to call you every day, right? That there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a balance. I don't think we're at balance, but I don't think the vendors stop calling me is a good idea either, because then what?
Yeah. So I want to correct one thing there. Don't get me wrong, VCs definitely want to see their startups grow quickly, right? And I work with and have the opportunity to know a lot of VCs, a lot of very smart ones, and they definitely want to see that triple, double, even better type thing. The question is, does cold calling enable that? And I would argue it does not. So if you go and look at a lot of the early stage startups, right, the Series A or earlier seed round, a lot of the logos that they get on their website are through relationships. They're not cold calls. Well, either it's lying, some engineer at Microsoft signed up and then they say trusted by Microsoft, right? Like, that's bad. Or it's literally a relationship. It's a relationship through the VC. It's a relationship through engineering, anything like that. I'll tell you, in my previous role when I was the CISO at Drata, I sold quite a bit myself through relationships. And I don't have a problem with that. So I don't think VCs are like, hey, go spend a bunch of money on cold calls, and I know my return on investment here is going to be like nil. That's not what they're pushing. So if you looked in that thread, one of the things I really talked about is relationships and people coming correct, right? And so there are a lot of salespeople that I know and respect that I know want to help me problem solve and not just sell to me, that I'll listen to them any day. If they move to a new company and they say, Ross, I want 30 minutes of your time, totally fine. I'll hear you out because we've built that relationship. And in that thread, for a lot of the younger salespeople, what people were replying to and what I was replying to is you have to build those relationships. And how you do so, you can go to local conferences. You can, there's all the city secs, the B-sides, everything like that. But the big thing is know your product, know your market, have a product that's actually really good that CISOs want to buy, and do some research and come correct in your messaging, right? Like a lot of the times we're just getting these mass spam emails, right? If you come to me and you say, hey, Ross, I did some research and I see that you're a Gmail shop and, you're this, and this, and our product can help secure it this way, that's really great. Like, I am actually going to look at that and I'm probably going to respond to it because I've seen you put in the work. I see you've done the research. I see that like you're putting in that effort, right? And I spent a lot of time with different sales folks in the past saying, here's how we should actually sell the CISOs, right? Instead of this, here, let me just send you a message. Like, there's a whole process there, and I'm happy to go even deeper in it, but I feel like I'm just talking too much. So
no, so I'm with you. But here's a couple things that I've observed. So I spent a good chunk of my career on the buying side. I worked at GE for one of the largest, right? I worked at GE for 5.5 years in different divisions. And I will tell you, like, my inbox, and it just never stopped. Everybody, that's the company everybody wanted to sell to. Everybody wanted our logo on there. We sell to this company. And everybody's pitch was awful. And then I joined the sales orgs, at least adjacent, did some consulting for a number of years. And like, there is a staggering amount of sales development work and what I mean by that is just, a bunch of people you go to a conference, you stop by a booth, or you go to a conference and your name is part of a list, and that list gets bought by vendor X, and vendor X pays some company to call you, read off this script, and hey, can we schedule a meeting? That is a 100%, numbers game, right? Like that is, it's a purely, if I call 100 people, how many of them will answer? And I think it's the same reason that phishing email still shows up in such large quantities. Is it does work. It's got to hit some segment of the market. Otherwise that whole world around sales development wouldn't exist. So, for better or worse, if it didn't work, it would that world wouldn't exist. Those companies wouldn't exist. Those jobs wouldn't exist. There's a lot of that. I also think that with the number of new companies popping up, there's a absolute metric poop ton of new salespeople that are flooding in that have previously sold cars, dishwashers, houses, widgets of some sort, kind, or value. And they're like, hey, sales is sales. I can sell anything, right? Which is fine. But security is... James, you're going to hit me for this, and you probably can. Security is a little different here, right? Because it's such a niche. It's such a nuanced thing to sell. And so as people kind of come into that market, Ross, I don't see I'd love for everybody to go and develop relationships, but the volume of people, purely on volume, that would make your life impossible, right? Because you can't have 1,000 people calling you that you say, I trust these, because they all work at different places. You can have a dozen or so, right? And then your other peer is going to have a dozen. So there's a very small circle of trusted salespeople. Everybody else is trying to figure out how to earn a living. And so, like, hey, just go to a B-Sides and go to a local ISSA meetup, to go do this, go whatever. That is I'm not excusing it, nor am I saying this is wrong, but like that's a super slow ramp, right? Wherein they're like, hey, you got a $1 million quota, get after it. So where is it broken? Obviously the Rapid7, they call you and pressure you into buying something. Like, we all hate that. Absolutely. I hate cold calls. I hate emails. I hate what I hate more than anything is people sending me unsolicited calendar invites, because there's a very special place in hell for you. But like, I have tried to, reach out to people that I've interacted with on LinkedIn, interacted with in real life. And like, so much of the CISO community is so like, oh, you're a vendor, I'm not going to talk to you. Like, there's got to be that side of it. I think has to get fixed too. Don't you? I said a lot. Your turn.
So I think you asked me where it's broken. It's broken in sales leadership, right? What you just said is like, hey, they're hiring all these people who don't know cybersecurity, who aren't spending the time to learn their product, learn the industry, learn their market, anything like that. But they have to hit numbers and start calling you immediately. That's broken. That's what's broken right there. Like, so if you think about it, right, a lot of sales today, right, even the sales leaders today are making it even hard for me to buy, even if I want the product, right? They want that 4-touch meeting, right? First, I need to talk to a BDR for 15 minutes, right? Then I need to talk to an AE for 30 minutes. And then I might get a demo. And then they want another talk. And like, I don't do that. You get one meeting. And this is something that Troy Markowitz, the CRO at Drata, I think is the best salesperson I've ever seen in my entire life and the best sales leader. And the reason being is he said, hey, we're going to have our sales team trained. We're going to get one meeting. We're going to do a demo in that meeting. Our salespeople are going to know the product. We're not going to have solutions engineers. They're going to understand the market. They're going to understand the problem. You're going to understand what a SOC 2 is and everything like that. And guess what? That's how we're going to sell. And if you look at hockey stick type growth, Drata has that. And it's because of that mentality. And I've seen more than, 20 times where Troy went into a meeting and that customer signed right on that meeting. Why? Because we just came correct. We said, hey, this is how we're going to do this sales process. and we know your time is valuable. We're going to bring it to you all in this hour of time, and we're happy to have a follow-up meeting, but we just want to be like, here it is. Here's what the product does. Here's how we're solving all of your needs, and let's go. And I think if you got more sales leaders thinking like that, and I'm going to spend the time to actually train my team, that is a huge thing. And that would change the game for most of these folks, right? I think people are reporting on bad metrics and they still have these old school styles of thinking. And that is leading to these really, really poor behaviors. And you mentioned like Rapid7, famous boiler room, right? Like Darktrace, famous boiler room sales as well. They've had issues, or I've seen issues from CISOs where they've had a Darktrace rep sitting in their lobby of their building for hours, just waiting to talk to them. Like, that's unacceptable, right? I've heard of...
I think that's stalking.
This one's even worse. I've heard of a rep sending a CISO a picture of his kids at their soccer game, right? Like, these are the things that CISOs get. Yeah. I've personally been called on holidays, right? And I asked this person, hey, it's a holiday. Why are you calling me? Like, first of all, my number's on the do not call list. You shouldn't be calling it. But they said, I'm working today. I was like, well, I'm not. They said, too bad. I was like, okay. Like, this is not a good way to introduce me to your company, right? And so I think a lot of these CROs aren't thinking about the consequences of the KPIs and things like that, because if your first interaction is a really bad interaction with that company or that company's rep, you're not going to buy from them. A lot of times CISOs and others are just blocking entire domains now at the company level because you email me, you email my CTO, you email my CEO. That's unacceptable, right? Like, you're just harassing our company.
Is that a numbers game too, though? I mean, is that we're willing to lose 5% if it still gains us another percentage? Because I'm with you. I mean, we get stuff. I've had interactions before where it's like, all right, well, I know they're not on my vendor list anymore, right? I mean, based on what you've done, it's like, yeah, no, I'm not going to work with it. You could have the best product in the world. I don't care. Like, yep. I'm fairly petty like that. Like,
I don't think it's petty.
You sent me, you're reaching out to me on a holiday. You're reaching out to me directly on a cell that's not listed, but because you reached out this one way and you got the information, like, yeah, no, that's not how we play this game. We get rid of that. But is that part of it's like phishing, right? Like, I'm going to send out 1 million, and if I can get 10% to click, then, we've got something. And to your point, the metrics aren't the right metrics. And, but I do think, going back to the question of building the relationships, the idea of going to like local chapters for stuff like that, there's the assumption then that the CISOs are at those. And that, I mean, I can tell you here, it's been a while since I've been to a local ISSA chapter, but when I went to those, there was probably 15 to 20 people, and 15 of those 15 to 20 are vendors. Like, there's no local CISOs going to those events. It's all marketing in those things. And so there's a difficulty there from a local perspective of, okay, which events do you go to that you're assuming that CISOs would be at to be able to start these conversations? Because I'm with you, like, build the relationship, but how do you get that foot in that door if you're not at these things? Like, there's no place to get to them. So that is a difficult thing. I wonder if AI, and it wouldn't be long, Raph, before we threw AI into this, how long until AI can build the profile for the salesperson to provide that initial insight that you're looking for, to be able to say, hey, look, I see that you're using this, right? Like, give me a profile for Ross. Hey, he works at this company. They use Gmail. They use F5s. They use this other stuff. Boom. I can take that. I can put it in and compare it to my product and say, here's where I could help, and have a much more targeted initial conversation, that comes through. Because I think the scalability of, if I'm a salesperson, there's no way I'm building profiles on every single person I'm trying to reach out to, right? Like, that just doesn't scale manually. But I wonder if we see better profiles built that way to more easily target, to give you the information you want.
It sounds like you have your next startup idea. I think you should start raising on it. I don't think that's not a bad idea, right? And I think there are AI sales tools right now. From what I've heard from some VCs, they do not work at today, right? They're just basically being used to spam more. And that's not really what people want to see.
Yeah.
And I believe one of them just got in trouble. There was an article on them on TechCrunch, but feel free to go take a look at it. Your metrics comment, you said like CROs or sales leaders have to understand that it's a numbers game and it works. I don't think they do. I don't think a lot of these are measured all that well from what I've seen. I think it's just the traditional wisdom, right? Like this is how it works.
Is that leading to more turnover then? Like, is that part of the problem? Like, we don't measure well. You're not getting the revenue we want. So if you didn't meet the goals, you're out.
Exactly.
It was because and then now you've got new person in, they have no experience, like that turnover there leading directly to that same cycle.
Absolutely, it does. And to your point about building relationships, it doesn't have to be just at security conferences. And you said like a lot of CISOs don't join these. You're right. Like a lot of times they're going to specialized events. So I'll give you an example. Colorado Equals Security, Rob Reck and Alex, great guys, right? They run a dinner series and they have vendors come pitch directly to a CISO. It's not really a pitch, I should say. There's a dinner topic. We talk through that topic. The vendor's there to kind of give their view of that topic. That's a great way to get in front of a bunch of CISOs. Like go to that dinner, have that discussion, set the topic, that type of thing. There are a lot of the Colorado security equals security leaders. A lot of the cities are now having these type of events too. So while you're right that, hey, CISOs may not always be at these things, their employees also are though, right? And that's actually the person you should be selling to, right? It's amazing to me whenever like salespeople really want to get me on the call, right? Even though I have a person leading this project because I write the check, I sign off on it, right? Great. Like I get on the call and they're like, Russ, da da da. I'm like, this isn't my project. Why are you talking to me? Like I'm just here to listen to make sure everything's all good at the end. I may have a question or two here, but you're selling to Greg over here. Like, please sell to Greg. Don't sell to me right now. And so it's not a bad idea to go to these anyway and build those relationships with those folks because a lot of times they're going to bring the CISO a new solution, right? They're going to say, hey, I saw this really cool thing. We have a miss in this space where we're not getting the visibility we need to, but let's go take a look in this space and see this product. To your folks' point around like understanding all the new startups, I think this is one area where CISOs should understand these things. I just did a talk on budgets and CISO budgets, right? And one of the great things you can do to keep your budget lower is go work with these startups, right? Get design partnerships going, help them build out that product. And you should be knowing what's going on in this space, in my opinion, if you're a CISO.
Can I bring up what tends to be a fairly sore topic, and no offense intended to anybody listening, but I've made it a career. I go to these things where I've actually been at Rob and I are friends. I've been at that dinner twice over the years, once with Optiv and I think once with HP a million years ago. So I know those things. Those are good. Those are really good. Here's the thing. I have noticed that in our industry, there are CISOs / security leads, whatever, that are professional vendor event attendees or conference attendees. And literally they are really good at, oh yeah, take me, I'm your guy. Take me out to dinner. Oh, let's go to this thing. They show up for everything and they do nothing. Right. And that it's a bit disingenuous, and and I'm sure lots of you guys, if you're in sales and you're listening, I don't know how to deal with this without being rude and garnering some ill will right? Because I want to come out and be like, no, you've been to 7 of my events. You've never talked to my people once. Like, I'm sorry, like no more, right? Like, how do you get around that? Because there's a good bit of that in this industry as well.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I can just speak personally. Like, I don't go to an event unless it sounds interesting and there's an interesting conversation. And I feel like I can contribute. I get invited to these things all the time. I'm very kind of selective. I think you're right. I think, some CISOs have probably supplied their entire neighborhood with AirPods from vendors. But, how do you get around it? Like, I don't invite them to more events. Like, change the event style, change the event format. We shouldn't just be feeding people, right? Like, we should be having these great, deep conversations. Like, one of the things that I participate in is the ISLF, Information Security Leadership Foundation. We actually have a thing called Unconference. It's not sponsored. We don't allow vendors to sponsor it. The CISOs pick the talks, and we spend an entire day talking through the things that we want to talk about and the things that we can't talk about at RSA or these vendor events or things like that. Like, a great one was mental health. How do you deal with stress? CISO's a stressful job. How are you all coping? How are you getting budget? How are you thinking about these things? How are you doing, all the performance management today? Things like that, right? And I find those kind of unique, intimate spaces so much more valuable, right, than these vendor put on ones. I think, switch from, hey, I'll give you AirPods for your time, to let's figure out how we drive a meaningful conversation that CISOs can learn from about a topic that they really want to know about. And let's do it in a format that's fun, not stuffy, not boring, and maybe bring our own perspective, right? I think, I'm saying that as the CISO, and that's easier said than done, right? Like, and to get people to events is really hard. Let me say that. I respect the salespeople that do it. But I think this is, again, building that great sales team. And I think the title will be the Uno reverse card. One of the things that we did at Drata was, when people came to me and tried to sell, if they were really good in their message and how they came, I sent them an Uno reverse card. And I said, let me tell you why you should join Drata. And let me get you out of your current company, and you should come join us. And we hired so many great sales folks that way, because we stole them from these companies, and we're just like, here's our sales leadership. Here's how we're selling. Here's how we're rolling. How does this sound? And people would just be like, yes. And so I started doing it. Daniel, the CTO, started doing it. Adam, our VC Human was there doing it. And we would just start getting all these amazing sales folks that were just like, this is the culture that I want, right? Like, we're building something amazing. I'm empowered to go actually sell. I don't have to do these 12 meetings and these horrible steps. Let's go build this sales organization that we really want.
Can you put a fine point, because you mentioned the AirPods thing a couple of times? It feels like the industry takes an integrity hit every time we offer somebody something for a meeting. Like, hey, sign the AirPods thing. I've seen like 50 times on LinkedIn recently. Like, hey, take a meeting with us, get a free drone, get a free set of AirPods, 2 tickets to a baseball game of your choice, whatever. Like that. Does that work? It doesn't, right? I
mean, I won't say it works or doesn't work. Obviously, some sales leaders believe it does. How do I feel about it? I have never received a pair of AirPods. I'm happy to say. I'll buy my own AirPods. My time is more valuable than that, in my opinion. I think, again, we're incentivizing the wrong thing. You are going to incentivize those folks who are happy to have a meeting and get that $250 Amazon gift card, which people offer those as well, right? And it's just like, that's not really how you want to do it. And it's usually, in my view, just poor sales leadership. And like, I don't know, do you want your relationship to start that way? Like, I'm going to offer you this shiny token so you'll speak to me? No, like, I actually want it to be like, here's the problem I'm solving for you. Like, and I'm going to save you all this time, money, energy, people, if you buy our product. Like, I'd rather sell that story any day. And I think that's just part of, having a great sales product, a product that you can sell. That just makes it so much easier, right? Like, if you can come to me, and this was really easy with the automated compliance space, right? Because everyone just loves compliance, right? And they were like, oh, I'm so happy I'm spending so much time in compliance, right? No, they all saw this as a problem. And then we said, hey, we're going to automate 80% of this here, or 50% or 60% or whatever it was. And you'll have to deal with 40%, but it's probably going to save you this much time, this much money, this much energy. That's a powerful story. Go with those type of products. Don't go with the gimmicky stuff, in my view.
Don't we bring some of that on, though? I don't want to say we too generally, because not me, but I've seen people post on LinkedIn that are CISOs or in the, they're on the receiving end of the vendor calls, and they're pushing for that stuff, saying, oh, if you want my time, it's worth this. Like, you should be sending me this, or if you want my time, there better be something in it. Is there a difference between the people? Like, I feel like there's CISOs that are actually trying to cut budget, like do things in an efficient way. And then I think, there's still a large swath of people that are still out there building their kingdoms. And it's like, I want to have the biggest budget. I want to have all the toys. I want to have all this stuff. And you know what? If you want to talk to me, there's a good chance I'm going to bring it in, because I'm going to show a need for it. And I've got this huge thing, whether it's secured me or not, I don't know, but we're building that up. But we definitely see on our side of the fence, people pushing for that type of thing. So it can't be sales is messing up because they're just assuming people want this. No, people are telling them they want it.
I mean, if somebody's telling you that they want an AirPods for a meeting, that's just bad, and you probably shouldn't want to do business with that person. I think there is a big thing for people use these things to try and stand out, right? Like, I'm trying to think of one. I get invited to these dinners all the time, and one salesperson kept hitting me up, and I was like, I'll tell you what. You go book here and then we'll do it. And it was a Michelin star place. And it wasn't just me. And I was like, go book here and then we'll do it. I didn't think he would do it. He went and did it. Right. So absolutely. I sat with that team and everything like that. Did he get my attention that way? Sure. Did we buy because we went there? No. Did we take a look at it because we were already in that market space? Absolutely. And that's why they even had my contact information, right? We had been looking, and I'll tell you, this was the SIM space of like, what do we want to do here at the next level? So, I mean, I think it's a difficult one because sales tries to use it to stand out. CISOs don't want to go have another mid-level meal where they're just being marketed to the entire time or sold to. Right. So this is where I kind of get back to, how do we create events or experiences where it's more, hey, let's have a CISO conversation when we're all together hanging out, and let's have a really good topic where we can learn from each other. Those are the kind of experiences that I'm more interested in myself. And I'm actually going to a dinner tonight. It's handled by Hitch Partners. Do you guys know who Hitch is? Like the CISO recruiter, Michael and team. They're fantastic. Why am I going? I really like Michael. He's an amazing person. He's really smart. He understands the industry. That's the entire reason I'm going, not because of the vendors or things like that. And I believe we will have an amazing conversation out of that.
So let's wrap it with this. Because a significant amount of sales reps listen to this show because we have, I like to think it's because we have people like you and you have excellent guests that they want to hear from, not just because they want to take down your name and figure out how to get in touch with you later. But for those that are listening, like, what's your advice on? So we've kind of gone the gamut here, right? You just joined a company. You've got a quota to fill. You got meetings to get. You got to try to get this, whatever this widget is, sold. If they're trying to approach, right, what's the advice you'd give somebody that's relatively new that would work?
Yeah, I think do your research again on your market, your product, everything like that. Do the research on my company and where we're at, where we hosting, things like that. Make sure it might be a product fit. Personalize it. Typically, one thing that I've seen work a little bit better is videos. People creating personalized videos typically get better responses because this person spent the time doing this, right? And that, at least for me, for some CISOs, will get you a little bit better response. I don't think sending the 4 LinkedIn messages in 4 days is the right way to go. You just annoy people and they end up reporting you and blocking you and don't want to deal with you. But I also say, like, come, instead of like just trying to hit your quota and trying to sell me something, come trying to understand, like, hey, I can help you solve this problem. And let me tell you how, right? And if not me, here's the market. Here's why I think we're best in the market. And this is why you should buy us, right? Like the issue that you mentioned earlier, we have too many companies popping up in the same space, right? Automated compliance, right? There were 2, and then there were 20 6 months later, funded by a whole bunch of VCs, and they all built out these sales teams. So CISOs are tired of hearing the same thing over and over and over from 20 different companies. And it becomes, why do I care? Why you? That type of thing. I think you have to get real personalized and say, here's the problem I'm solving. Here's why me, right? Here's why we're the best. Here's why we should earn your business. A lot of times we just don't get that. It's mass spam. A lot of times CISOs, we're seeing they get our names wrong. They get our companies wrong. Like we're just inundated by that type of thing.
I get the one where it's like, hi, and then it's like the template verbiage.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, just kidding. I know who you are. You thought this. I'm like, yeah, well, you lost me at hi template. Like, I didn't read past that. Right.
Yeah.
Have you seen those where they pretend like it's a spam thing? And then they're like, oh, just kidding. I know it's you, James. And they move forward with it. And it's like, that's not going far either. It's a difficult thing to try to conquer for a salesperson.
Let's also say it's not just sales; it's CEOs, right? So it's a lot of startup CEOs are trying to do founder-led sales, and they hit up CISOs all the time too, all the time, and they do a really, really poor job at it. Like it's amazing. It's like, hey, I have this new startup. We're doing this cool thing, and then it's very broad. It's very buzzwordy. It's like, at the end of it, I have no idea what you do. I have no idea what problem you're solving for me. You just asked for 30 minutes of my time, which I don't have to give to you, and I have to be very selective about. Like, no, get very specific. Tell me what problem you're solving, how you're solving it, and why you're better.
So you just hit so I'm going to RSA next week. Are you going?
I am.
All right. I want to send you we've got a fun event if you're going, but if not, there's something else I want to send you an invite to. Anyway, you hit upon my pet peeve. Having been adjacent or helping marketing functions kind of figure out who their audience is and how to write things that people don't hate. Oh my God, sir. RSA conference is the epitome of everybody using the most generalized language to describe. Like when I was with Office of CISO, there's a couple of us that would go around every year, and we'd take pictures of people's, like, their main marketing message, and then we'd strip the colors, strip the who the company was and go back to those booths and see who could identify their own message, like almost zero. Because you're like, well, this all sounds the same. You're like, that's the point I'm trying to make. You guys all sound the same. Everybody is the next, the best in breed, next gen, market leading, Gartner's favorite, blah, blah, blah. Like, stop. Just, can you tell me what it is that you do and why I care?
Yeah. And I get it all the time, especially, doing the VC that I do with SVCI. We invest in, some great companies like Island and Drata and a number of others. And so we get it especially hard. And it's like, I still don't know what you do. And even and we can have another talk about this, but even in pitches, right? Like where we have leaders come in and pitch sometimes, you'll see our Slack chat and it's like, okay, this person just talked for 15 minutes. I still have no idea what they do. What do you do?
Yeah.
What problem are you solving for me? Because that's really at the end of the day of how you're going to sell. You have to be solving a problem that I have in a way that I need it. Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I think in sales, it's just that, right? Like it's right time, it's right place. It's, I have this problem. It's top of mind. And, your salespeople have to eat, right? I don't have any issues with them trying to make a living. And I have a lot of great sales friends that I know and trust. I think we just have to change how people think about it and the metrics that we derive, because you're talking about sales. I've gone through HubSpot before and I've seen, hey, you reached out to this leader 5 times in 7 days. Like that is unacceptable. That should not be allowed. Doing? Yeah. That is not okay. And guess what? Your email is now bouncing off of their domain because they just went and blocked you at the gateway. Like we just have to train this industry a little bit better and give salespeople the time to build those relationships and BDRs and everyone else in that organization.
Does that work though? I mean, just a final point on that piece, right? Of the giving of the time. Most salespeople, I assume, still work off commission. Right. So the time piece is somewhat on them as well. Like, oh man, if it's going to take me this long to ramp up, I'm that long without commission. Does it change the process of how salespeople are brought in where it's hey, for the first 6 months, you're actually going to be making this as a salary because we're not basing it off commission. So you can build up.
But that already happens.
Does it? Okay. I don't know. I don't work in sales.
Yeah. Yeah, that already happens.
It does to a point, but to James's point, there are still really bad metrics that are put on these folks. You have to make this many calls. You have to make this many contacts. You have to send this many emails. It doesn't look at the quality. It doesn't look hey, like I sent 10 and I got 5 responses versus I sent 1,000 and got 5 responses, right?
Right.
It's just like you sent 1,000, so you must be doing really well. Like, no, let's take that back and let's really think about that and empower our sales folks, train them, give them the time and the opportunity to make those connections, because it's going to be far better for your company. If I go start a startup someday, if I ever have the guts to do so, because it's a very gutsy thing to do, I'm going to go back through every salesperson that I have a great relationship with. I'm going to try and hire them, right? I don't want a bunch of BDRs and SDRs just spamming people. I want people that are going to go into their market and go win it and be able to sell really well. And I think if you look at the best cybersecurity companies today, that's what they did. Go look at Wiz, for example. Everyone talks about Wiz, right? Everyone has their picture with one of the founders and why the Wiz acquisition is good for them. But if you go look at Wiz and what they did, they hired certain salespeople that knew the big financials industry very, very well and had those relationships. And that's how they won big financial, right? That's how they won the banks. That's how they grew their business massively, very quickly.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's a good place to end because we could have this continue this conversation forever and ever.
Yeah. Cool.
So much to talk about. Maybe we'll do a follow-up. I like follow-ups. They tend to be good episodes. All right. Ross, thanks for your time. I know this is taking stuff out of your day, and when we post this, I'll tag you on LinkedIn, and you'll get to. I'm sure you'll get some comments We always do.
Probably.
So, all right. Hey, appreciate your time. Thanks for being on the show. Folks, thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed it. This has been another episode of the Down the Security Rabbit Hole podcast. Check us out. Share us with your friends. This may be helpful to somebody that you know. So on that note, we'll talk to you guys later. Catch you another time, another place on another Down the Security Rabbit Hole podcast. Ciao, everybody. Bye-bye.
This is Bella. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to leave my dad a review and share this with your friends. Bye.